Jerry Miller from Hobart, Wisconsin writes in, and he's looking back at your journey through life with Warren Buffett. He says, what's the toughest moment you've shared with Warren? And of course, what's the very best memory you've shared during your life with him? You two seem like you are brothers by a different mother. May God continue to bestow his blessings on you. Together, you're one of the United States of America's greatest treasures, and individually, you ain't too bad either.
Well, God is about to give a different kind of a blessing on Warren and me. He's going to give us whatever afterlife there is. And, of course, nobody knows anything about that. And it's been a great run, Warren and I. Warren and I have had a great run. And one of the really great things about it is that we've been surrounded by wonderful people, the people we've shared in our work lives. And what Jerry and I have done in this little business has been a pleasure, hasn't it, Jerry?
Yes, sir.
It's been a privilege to do it, and a privilege to be here and so forth. And we haven't had a dumb bureaucracy like a lot of other places. And we've managed to cope pretty well with the problems that came to us, and the opportunities too. And so we've been blessed. And it's all old-fashioned virtue. Jerry and I don't have any secrets. We tend to get the day's work done and be as rational as we can in coping with whatever we have to cope with, and that will always work for people who get good at it. But Warren and I have been very fortunate, and of course there are lessons you can learn from there are so many people that live surrounded by tyranny. There are a lot of bosses in the world that are absolutely impossible to be under. They're really psychotic. And you really can't do anything about it in many cases. Warren and I haven't had those problems. That's a blessing.
Charlie, another viewer writes in, Kumar. He says, you seem extremely happy and content. What's your secret to lead a happy life?
Well, I always say the same thing. Realistic expectations, which is low expectations. If you have unreasonable demands on life, you're like a bird that's trying to destroy himself by bashing his wings on the edge of the cage, and you really can't get out of the cage. It's stupid. You want to have reasonable expectations and take life's results, good and bad as they happen, with a certain amount of stoicism. There'll never be any shortage of good people in the world. All you got to do is think them out and get as many of them as possible into your life. And keep the rest of the hell out.
Got a couple of questions left. This one comes from Wes Roddy in Miami, Florida. He says, in your storied investor career, which investment did you like the most and why? And which one was a dog?
Well, that's rather interesting. One of the investments that nobody ever talks about at Berkshire is the World Book Encyclopedia. I grew up on it. You know, they used to sell it door to door. And that thing they had every word in the English language graded for comprehension, and it had a vast amount of editorial input. So it was easy for a child who wasn't necessarily a brilliant student to understand that encyclopedia. It was more understandable. And Berkshire made $50 million a year pre-tax out of that business for years and years and years. And I was always so proud of it because I grew up with it and it helped me and so forth. And of course, I liked the $50 million a year. And then a man named Bill Gates came along and he decided he's going to give away a free encyclopedia with every damn bit of software in his personal computer software. And away went our $50 million a year. Now, we still sell the encyclopedia to libraries. Maybe we make a few million a year doing that. But most of the wealth just went away and all that wonderful constructive product. And it's still a marvelous product. And it wasn't good that we lost what World Book was doing for the civilization. And I was so proud of World Book but now it's pretty well gone away in terms of its worldly significance, and the money went with it. That's just the way capitalism works. It has destruction, and some of the things you lose, you're really going to miss, and you're not going to replace them. I don't think these TV programs that charm our children are as good as the World Book was for them. World Book helped me get ahead in life. And the people who aren't going to read the World Book and who are hanging in front of the TV set, they're not blessed, they're cursed. Now, there are advantages, too, and they're having television.
And Charlie, a final question for you. This one comes from Matt McAllister.
I'm not weeping any tears that I don't have my World Book anymore. I've adjusted. I miss it, but
This last question comes from Matt McAllister, and he says, first of all, he wants to thank you for sharing your wisdom so graciously and generously, but he says, of the 5 people or so you most admire, could you please name a few so that we might become more familiar with and potentially learn from these individuals?
Well, I don't have any one person that I admire. I would argue that the greatest governmental leader whose life overlapped mine was Lee Kuan Yew of Singapore. And I would argue that he was the one that taught Deng Xiaoping of China how to fix China the way Singapore had fixed itself. And so it was a huge achievement. So I've seen some remarkable, I think the Marshall Plan that my country did after World War II was a marvelous thing, and that was a credit to the human race. I've seen a lot that I'm proud of. On the other hand, I see a lot now that I'm not proud of. I don't like this crazy hatred in our party system. I don't see anything wrong with having a good-sized government safety net that goes up as GDP. I think we'd be crazy to be as rich as we are without a good governmental safety net. By the way, you know where that came from? Otto Bismarck. He was the Iron Chancellor of Germany, exercising the unlimited power of a German king. That's who gave us some Social Security and so forth. Nobody thinks of Otto Bismarck as a great hero of democratic capitalism, but he really was. It shows how complicated life is. Strange things happen. My hero, Otto Bismarck. I've never seen Otto Bismarck's picture on an American wall. He should be there.